When I say the name Isaac Newton, what do you see? You see the apple falling, right? You see the laws of motion, gravity, the telescope, the calculus torture you endured in high school. You see the smartest man who ever lived. But what if I told you that Newton's biggest impact on your daily life isn't gravity? What if I told you that the reason the global economy looks the way it does, the reason we obsess over gold reserves and central banks, is because this genius physicist made a simple math error? For 200 years, the world ran on the gold standard. Wars were fought over it, empires rose because of it, and economies collapsed for lack of it. And it wasn't invented by a committee of economists. It happened by accident in 1717 because Isaac Newton got the exchange rate wrong. Today, we're going to talk about the side of Newton they don't teach in science class. The Newton who hunted criminals, tortured counterfeiters, lost a fortune in the stock market, and accidentally forced the world onto the gold standard. Let's go back to London, 1696. To understand this mistake, you have to understand money in the 17th century. It wasn't digital numbers on a screen, it was physical metal, specifically silver. For 1,000 years, silver was king. The pound sterling literally meant a pound of sterling silver. But by the late 1600s, England was in a full-blown financial crisis. Why? Because the money was literally disappearing. First, there was a war with France. There was always a war with France. And silver was flowing out of the country to pay soldiers. But the bigger problem was something called clipping. See, coins were hand-hammered. They weren't perfect circles. So dishonest people would take a pair of shears and clip the edges off a silver coin. They'd keep the clippings, melt them down into bullion, and spend the smaller coin at face value. By 1696, the average British shilling had lost 50% of its weight. Imagine if you went to buy milk, handed the cashier a $20 bill, and she cut it in half and handed you the other half as change. The economy was collapsing. Nobody trusted the money. There were riots in the markets. The government was desperate. They needed someone smart enough to fix the math, but tough enough to handle the politics. They didn't need a banker. They needed a scientist. Enter Isaac Newton. He was 53 years old. He was burnt out on physics. He was actually suffering from a nervous breakdown and wanted a new challenge. We tend to think of Newton as a rational scientist, but privately, he was a sorcerer. He spent 30 years secretly practicing alchemy, trying to find the philosopher's stone to turn lead into gold. He was obsessed with the mystical properties of metal. So when the king asked him to become the warden of the royal mint, Newton didn't just see it as a government job, he saw it as destiny. Most people who held this job treated it as a cushy retirement gig. They showed up once a week, signed papers, and drank brandy. Not Newton. Newton showed up at 4 a.m. He reorganized the factories. He did time and motion studies on the workers. He effectively oversaw the great recoinage of 1696, recalling all the old clipped coins and reminting them with new machine-edged ridges, which is why quarters have ridges today to stop clipping. But he also became a detective. He built a network of spies in London's underworld to catch counterfeiters. He personally interrogated them. He became the nemesis of a master criminal named William Challoner. Newton didn't just catch him, he gathered the evidence to have him hanged, drawn, and quartered. This is the guy in charge of the money, obsessive, relentless, and convinced he is always right. So, the coins are fixed, but now Newton faces a harder problem: exchange rates. England, like most of the world, operated on bimetallism. That means both gold and silver were legal tender. You could pay your taxes in gold guineas or silver shillings. The government set a fixed ratio between the two. For example, they might say 1 ounce of gold is worth 15 ounces of silver. But here is the economic trap.
The government sets a legal price, but the rest of the world has a market price. If the government says gold is worth 15 silvers, but in China or France gold is only worth 14 silvers, you have an opportunity for arbitrage. Traders who are smart and greedy will notice this. They will take their silver, buy gold in France, bring the gold to England, exchange it for more silver than they started with, and repeat the cycle. This sucks all of one metal out of the country. In 1717, the master of the mint, Sir Isaac Newton, had to set the new official price for the gold guinea to stop this volatility. He sat down, crunched the numbers, looked at the European markets, and issued his famous report. Newton set the value of the gold guinea at 21 shillings. This was the moment. The butterfly flapped its wings. Because he was wrong. It wasn't a massive error, it was a matter of pennies, but he had set the value of gold slightly too high compared to silver. He overvalued gold. In economics, there's a rule called Gresham's law. Bad money drives out good. Because Newton made gold expensive, overvalued, and silver cheap, undervalued inside Britain, people did exactly what you'd expect. They took their silver coins, melted them down, sold the silver to China and India, where silver was highly valued, and used the profit to buy gold to bring back to Britain. Silver flowed out of Britain like water from a broken dam. Gold flowed in. Within a few years, there were almost no silver coins left in circulation. You couldn't find change for a guinea. The only money moving around London was gold. Newton didn't officially abolish silver. He just made the math so bad for silver that it ceased to exist as a currency. Without passing a law, he had accidentally created a monometallic gold standard. Now, why does this matter to us today? Because this accident happened right as the British Empire was becoming the superpower of the world. As the 18th and 19th centuries rolled on, Britain controlled global trade. If you wanted to trade with the superpower, you had to use their money, and their money was gold. Other countries looked at Britain's stability and wealth and thought, well, they're on the gold standard, so we should be too. Germany joined in the 1870s. The US formally codified it in 1900, though they were sort of on it earlier. By the Victorian era, the entire global economy was pegged to gold. This created a period of incredible stability for international trade, but it also caused massive headaches. Because the supply of money was limited by how much gold you could dig out of the ground, it caused deflation and banking panics. The Great Depression was arguably made much worse because central banks were handcuffed to the gold standard. It wasn't until 1971, when Richard Nixon finally closed the gold window, that the world fully moved away from the system Newton accidentally started 254 years prior. There's a deep irony to this story. Isaac Newton spent half his life as an alchemist. He boiled strange chemicals in the middle of the night, inhaling mercury fumes, trying to perform the magnum opus, the great work. He wanted to turn base metals into gold. Scientifically, he failed. He never found the philosopher's stone. But economically, he succeeded beyond his wildest dreams. By changing a decimal point in a government ledger, he turned the entire British economy into gold. He made silver disappear and replaced it with the metal he loved most of all. So the next time you look at a financial report or hear people arguing about going back to the gold standard, remember, we didn't choose that system because it was the best economic theory. We chose it because the guy who discovered gravity made a math mistake. Thanks for watching.
If you like this video, clicking the like button helps us out. We really appreciate it. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. But, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.